Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I still thought it's the Mighty Drive, but of course it is the Hotline Show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of the Hotline Show. Today is the 24th of June, 2024. Thank you so much from wherever you're tuning in from. We have various people who tune in from various areas all over the country and of course across the globe. I want to just note down a few individuals. A gentleman called Kamoga Franklin Gooding. You say you love this show very much. You're always watching from San Francisco, California. Thank you so much for tuning in. There are gentlemen from Dubai. There is Mrs. Kakule, Martha. You're always watching. Thank you so much. And everybody who takes their time and, of course, their resources to actually watch us here. We are at the Alternative Uganda. That is on Facebook at Digitalk TV, still on Facebook, on Twitter at The Alternative UGA, then still on Digitalk TV. You can send us some of your messages. We'll be reading them subsequently as we continue with this particular program. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga. As you know, every particular Monday, in the evening, starting from 7 to 9, we always have here a conversation, 2 hours of non-stop, information sharing, and of course trying to talk about things that we think will make this country a better place for all of us, and of course for the generations that are going to come in the future. Last week was eventful. We had Mpuga in Masaka. That was on the 21st, last Friday. And of course, there was a service that was held and various people were there. And we asked ourselves, what does this mean to the political opposition of this country, National Unity Platform, at a time when they have had a lot of challenges and disagreements with Mpuga, who right now as we speak is no longer the deputy president for NUP that is in Uganda region. Mpuga spoke a lot of words. I'll be hinting on them maybe later on as we continue this particular program. But the thing that stood out most was the numbers of people. Not many people thought that would have these numbers at this gentleman's rally. But we also had the Catholic Church that was represented very, very well. And this brings us to a question of where does the National Unity Platform stand when in Uganda region, where this region has actually been a stronghold for them as the National Unity Platform. So we shall be maybe hitting about that when we continue this program. Still last week, we had the protests going on in neighboring Kenya. Just right here, our neighbor Kenya are continuing to protest the finance bill that they say is really, really very, very bad to the people. They say these new tax laws are going to be affecting them in a very bizarre manner. And of course, they took to the streets. As we speak, 2 people, I think, lost their lives in that particular insurrection. But a statement has actually been made. Nairobi is painting or advocating for a change. And the uniqueness about this is actually these particular protests have been led by young people and have been coordinated on TikTok, a new media platform. And this brings us to the evolution of how people are doing, how information is moving, how people are actually exchanging information, and how actually are they creating impact using these social media platforms. Kenya has took to the streets. The question would be, why is it that Uganda has not yet? Because most of the issues these people are advocating for are the issues that are affecting Ugandans. New taxes have been introduced in this particular budget, but Ugandans seem comfortable and okay in that particular regard. So we shall be maybe hinting on those particular protests and what does it mean to the East African region as a whole. And of course, is there something that Uganda can borrow from Kenya, or it's not something that is very, very vital to us. Then still today we are also going to be talking about the demonstrations or the distractions that are happening, especially in Lubigi, that is along Wakiso. As we speak today, I think over 200 homesteads have actually been put down, and I think 110 to go, because the total of the houses that were supposed to be demolished in Lubigi is 315. So if over 200 have actually been demolished, that means these demolitions are continuing. And the president actually came out to, for lack of a better word, defend NEMA and says, if you are building in a wetland and you know it's wrong, why do you have to actually wait for NEMA to come and demolish you? You should be ready as a person, and you should know that what you have done is actually very, very wrong. Then maybe lastly, MPs were incarcerated recently, and of course the latest ones being, I think, the Igara East Member of Parliament, that is Michael Mawanda, and a few of his colleagues. In the cases that have been raised upon these people is misappropriation of 164 billion that was for cooperatives, really. This money was actually really misappropriated, and these few individuals have been arrested to help in investigating this particular matter. And this comes at a time when President Museveni said he is actually, spearheading the fight against corruption. And I also today, the former executive director of Mulago has actually been aligned in the anti-corruption court. Now, this gentleman is of misappropriating also. At the time when he was still at the helm of Mulago Hospital, he was accused of misappropriating over 6.3 billion. That's a lot of money. And of course, up to today, Mr. Byarugaba is still in court, and he has not been granted bail as was expected today. he's going to come back. Shall be hearing in that particular regard. There's many information and news that is going on social media, both here and outside the country. But allow me to stop there. And let me welcome the panelists for the day. I have already Honorable Wich Pola. He is the NRM Director for External Affairs. He's already here, Honorable. And then, of course, Kazoba Charles, he's already here, the Executive Director for CARDS, the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. Later on, we shall be joined by Mr. Samuel Lubega Mkaku. He is the leader of the DP bloc, former presidential aspirant, and we shall be talking about what is happening in the country. Allow me welcome Honorable Wich to just give us his opening remarks and say, you're welcome to the Hotline Show. It's always a privilege and humbling to have you, sir, right here on the Hotline Show.
Thank you so much. Good evening, and good evening to the viewers.
Great. Charles Kazoba, you're welcome, sir.
You know, Major usually wants to be the last.
Yes. which is always good because he gets to tackle all of the voices.
So he's usually not comfortable because he keeps waiting for the issues I'm going to point out. But
because they are raised.
Yes, and he's a man of concern. So right now he's what you may call a power center.
Yeah, they are raised.
I'm keenly following the campaigns in Rwanda, presidential campaigns.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Of course, President Kagame has been around for quite some time. He's now competing with our own man here, our older man. But I was impressed by the crowds he was able to pull yesterday, of almost 250,000 people. So it means that Africans, we are beginning to appreciate longevity. I don't know.
Maybe when you serve people well, they appreciate you.
That is the thing. That is the difference between now President Kagame and our leaders here. Our leaders meaning not just President Museveni. All our leaders, they are serving their own selfish interests. They have abandoned the country. They have abandoned Ugandans, and that is a very serious issue.
Why do you think they keep on voting them back?
Are they? Because that is the other issue. Are they?
Because I want to sometimes disagree with this narrative that you try to push, that this gentleman or the government is not liked. But when you go generally, when you look at the national perspective, this person has leaders in every village. This person has members of parliament in places where the opposition does not even have a candidate. And then you want to say that this man is not really liked. Here in Buganda, he's won. But when you go to other regions, he actually gets the votes.
Most elections in Africa, voters don't vote parties. They vote personalities. And that's why you realize that political parties
Yes, sir.
will want to identify personalities that already have brands. If you're a brand, for instance, in an area, most likely a political party will identify you as their candidate in that area.
Yes, sir.
They don't groom their own leaders, because they have realized that voters go with brands, not parties. You'll go to an area, you'll find that somebody in opposition has been voted in parliament. Museveni has been voted as a president, NRM. When you go to councillor, you find it is a different party. So multipartyism is still very weak in Africa. It is still very weak. people are still on individual merit. The one that was introduced by NRM prior to multipartyism. So we are still not also politically conscious as a society. Because if we are politically conscious, then you would look at a pattern of voters identifying with the issues in the manifestos of particular parties. But that doesn't happen. We are not an issue-based society. Instead, we look at individuals. This is this guy's son. That's why you see NRM, when somebody dies, they go for their family members.
Not just really NRM, everybody.
So it is the person, not the issue, one that stands for. In fact, if you focused so much on issues, there's a possibility of you losing an election.
Yeah.
So
I want to just stop you there and bring in Honorable Wich to this issue of political consciousness. And this is something that has been reiterated by a lot of individuals. Even today morning, I had a show here with Bigirwa Moses, and what you call, he mentioned it political consciousness, but he said even Ugandans are, for lack of a better word, fools. That they have done a lot of things to them, but they actually do not really understand the effect of this. This is the same story that Chagulanyi has mentioned, the same thing that Besigye has mentioned, calling Ugandans really the lacking political consciousness. But
before you bring in Major, I disagree.
Just a minute.
I disagree with those. It's not that Ugandans are ignorant or fools.
Fools, that's the word they used.
It is upon the leaders to educate the masses.
Haven't they done that?
They have not.
Let me ask him, sir, is this really a fact from a perspective of an NRM, or these people are trying to downplay your abilities as the national resistance movement?
You see, consciousness of the people. What an abstract. It's really an abstract thinking. You see, the consciousness of people, the thinking of the people, is not superimposed by a spirit from heaven or from somewhere. The consciousness, the feelings of people are a materiality, what you interact with in real life in society.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, the consciousness are what affects people, like material needs, security, food, health, education, whatever affects. So our people, our opponents seem to think a consciousness is a superimposed idea in people's head and heart. No, it is the materiality. So people devise these feelings of consciousness from the materiality in their environment, how they interact.
Yeah.
Therefore, in the case of Uganda, NRM, remember the starting point which people have been trying to disassociate. It has, however, remained among the old that we sleep.
Yes.
That is the materiality.
They are saying the
peace.
sleep, yeah.
There's peace. That is a material, not a spiritual thing. Two, we have been talking of material needs like goods. I've been saying it here. That rather than judge the economy from upside down, just judge it from the availability of things. Do people have the things when they want? When they go to the market, do they get tomatoes? Do they get cassava? Yeah. Do they get sugar? Do they get food? Three, even the thing like you talk of freedom of speech. People know in every town there's FM. Do I talk? When I talk, am I followed at home? So even if you say there's no freedom of speech, the person will say, really? He will listen to you, but something, what you call the conscience in him will say no.
What you say
so,
is right, yeah.
Consciousness is not a spirituality. The rising of consciousness is a materiality. So for the political theoreticians, those who are talking in theories, from textbooks, from their own interest because they are candidates, because they also want to remove this and be in the status quo. They will continue to talk in abstract as if consciousness is spiritually brought from some other space.
Because
no,
what you say
people feel it, people are happy.
What you say is actually pertinent, because it's bread that took Omar Bashir. Just bread.
Yes.
There was no bread.
Yes.
So the reality is, maybe to some extent,
It's
they are basic goods
materiality.
here.
What people feel is
comfortable.
different from the abstract school class, a classroom, textbook feeling of people, actors, politicians who want the status quo so they can say it. It's not. Otherwise, Article 1 says power belongs to the people. The people exercise it. And how do you say that, like you really said, the entire Teso, the entire Karamoja, the entire Joli, the entire Lao, and maybe Western, you don't see any other candidate from LC3 downwards. Even some in MPs. And you are saying, no, people, people don't want this party. People want the other party. Why don't they now have representation, even at candidate level? Only candidate, not even winning. Zero. So our colleagues are really talking in abstract, in a textbook form, in a classroom form. The truth remains, I see that I'm seeing TV, not because I'm dreaming I'm seeing TV, but my eyes are seeing it. I dream, I'm saying I see security, I sleep, and I really sleep.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable Witch. Now let me come to you, the viewer. Please send me some of your messages on this particular issue. When the people in opposition talk about political cautiousness, Ugandans being ignorant and not knowing what to do, they don't know what the problems they are facing, is this actually a reality, or it's an exaggeration on the side of the opposition? Because it looks like even when we come to vote, every election cycle, you will see people coming to actually cast their vote. So the question is, where is this political cautiousness that you people are asking, whereas the opposition is actually claiming to have? Just send in some of your comments at the Alternative Uganda Digitalk TV. I'll be reading them as we continue with this particular program. Let me come to you, Charles. And this brings me to the issue of Kenya. The problem that you may say is in Kenya should be here. The taxes, the new taxes, the exorbitant taxes, the rise in inflation and everything, the same problems they are facing, we are facing them here. Do you want to say that these young people are politically cautious? Or generally, what do you think of these uprisings that are in Kenya that has actually, this is the second time they are demonstrating. After the election, they actually demonstrated. 2 years down the road, they are demonstrating. How is Kenya different from our perspective when you have to juxtapose the two of them?
First of all, to understand whether a society is politically cautious, you have to look at the freedom of speech, which extends to media freedom also. Then you also have to look at freedom of assembly. You have to look at the quality of education. That is very crucial.
Yes.
It's not just having people going through classrooms. What is the quality of knowledge
they are getting,
they receive?
Yes, sir.
Is it possible that some knowledge is denied to these people? Yes. If a child completes P7, does that child understand, for instance, the politics of his or her country? Yes?
Yes, sir.
So quality of education is very crucial. Now, when you look at our country, Uganda,
yes, sir.
Of course, various organizations have measured these freedoms, and they will tell you that, yes, we might have hundreds of media entities, but who owns these media entities? Because the ownership translates into the information that is relayed to the public. Yes?
Yes.
If you're going to have 200 radio stations praising NRM, and they do not give space to other political groups, yes, to also relay their own information, then you can't call it media freedom, because the public then is fed on only NRM propaganda. So they can't make a choice, they can't make an objective choice when it comes to consumption of the information that they receive.
They just receive that information because it's the one that is available.
So you can boast as a government that we have so many media organizations, but who owns those media organizations? That is also important. Two, the journalists themselves that you have, are they empowered? Because if you're not paying them, if your country cannot have these journalists empowered, then you do not expect them to do an objective job. So the fault again goes back to government, because through regulation you can have an empowered media organization, media industry. You have seen our government say, for instance, that they have centralized government advertisement in one pool that is under Ministry of ICT. That means that ministry can dictate who gets adverts from government, who does not. So if you don't play government tunes, then you might not get that.
The good thing you've used might not, because it's a bit not.
Yes. So the political consciousness, you don't just look at the population. What is the information, the quality of information that you feed the population?
Juxtapose it to Kenya, bring it home.
Now, when you look at Kenya and Uganda, Kenya is much more developed. Their media industry is actually much more advanced. They even pay their journalists very well, better than, I think they're the best in the entire region. A journalist in Kenya is empowered to be objective than a Ugandan journalist. However, they also have a problem now of ownership, because if their own the owners of the media houses are aligned to a particular political thinking, then it translates to partisan journalism. That is why in the last elections between Ruto and Odinga, the Kenyan media was accused of being partisan.
Because it's really partisan also in nature to some extent.
Yes, but that is what it shouldn't be. Because when you become partisan, you make the population suffer.
But one would say everybody knows CNN is Republican, Fox is Democrat, even in the United States.
What is the best for a society? What is the best
I thought when we are benchmarking on best societies, we look at the United States, because that would look at as an epitome of democracy.
I hope you remember I'm also here.
Yes, sir.
You're forgetting
No, I'm
me.
not forgetting you, sir. I want him to first conclude his point. We still have an hour and a half, sir, to go. Yeah, but please continue.
So we have the issue of the media. Now, the Kenyan media cannot, for instance, be frustrated by government. It's different than here, because by the time you come into government, there is media against you. But it is also
still their partition, you said.
Yes, they have been accused of being partisan, and me as an individual, I do not agree with the partisan media because you distort what you feed the population. You must be objective as a media organization.
So you want to say that our media, lastly, has not done enough to
No, it is not up
because we tell the stories
It is
too.
not up to the media. It is up to the government. Because let me tell you, today the President Museveni might be comfortable with the media industry, the content that is churned out into the public domain. But tomorrow, when he's out of government, it will be crucial for him to have laid the foundation for an objective media industry.
Okay.
If he's out of government and he has a challenge, how does that media help him? You've seen General
Kaihura. Yeah.
Yes.
Kaihura came crying for us. But it's okay. Let me come to you, Honorable Which. He narrows it down to the issue of media. Really saying media has not done enough to sensitize. Though this particular campaign has been run by people on social media. It has not actually been done by mainstream media or inflated by that. But sir, why do you think that the things we are seeing in Kenya have not happened here yet? Yet, when you juxtapose the conditions, you should say maybe we are closely related. They are in the same situation that we may be in. Really.
Why it has not happened here and it happens in Kenya is for what I told you, that the consciousness of the people is not superimposed by spirit. It is how the person feels his material needs. For example, what could have been closest to Kenya was this Euphrates. Okay? But you recall that Euphrates was not about taxing Uganda. Euphrates was about methods of tax collection.
The tax system, yeah.
Meaning that the people are not crying for tax per se. It is the collectors, the businessmen who were crying for what is a riot in Kenya. The riot in Kenya is that people are being taxed unfairly. Do you see the difference?
Yes, introducing
So
new tax
it's
bills.
what affects the materiality. So what could have come closest to Uganda in the uprising was the Euphrates. But the Euphrates, the Ugandans, in that case, were not saying you have taxed that badly. It was the tax people who were saying this method is cumbersome, you need paperwork, you need computer,
There's double
you need
taxation
laptop,
too.
you need this, and it costs us, we have to employ people to do it. That was the issue. So you can see that the issues that affect the Ugandans in that tax relation means that Ugandans were happy. The unhappiness was procedure to collect it. While in Kenya, it is what affects them, what I eat, my welfare. So, if my colleagues still continue to define consciousness, there's a whole literature about this called theory of knowledge. Theory of knowledge actually teaches us about what is the source of consciousness. Is it spiritual? Like my friends who try to say you have to educate the masses, they even alludes to classroom schools. Does that mean therefore the masses of people in Kapele Byong who have not gone to school have no consciousness? They do have the consciousness, even if he has not gone to any classroom. Because theory of knowledge, that is talking about our feelings, the consciousness, arises because of the materiality of what affects you. Is it the taxation? What does this tax do to you? And that is why for us in NRM, even in our mobilization, it is what affects the people. When we go to mobilize, we said, are you getting Paris development model? Are you getting these interventions? Does it work? Is it failing? What are you? We are more into what people get. Issues, what people get. Because it is what people get that bring consciousness. But if you think in textbooks, I would be very happy if they continue thinking like that. That consciousness, you go to school, you teach people.
Because one would ask themselves,
the media,
were you politically cautious in 1980?
No way. So even the media freedom,
media
for example, research has done it that actually our NRM cadres are more reluctant to go for, some people think they fear to go for this kind of debate that I have been in, that I am in, to the extent that you have 3 opposition voices against 1.
Always.
Now, how do you tell me, therefore, that the information being churned out are NRM, when even NRM is not going to the media houses itself? We are crying for cadres to go to talk shows. So the majority of people who are actually talking are opposition, but only that they are not talking of materiality that touches the people. And for us, the few that we are doing, we are issue-based. So you cannot even say media freedom. They are everywhere. Talk shows, it is a fact that we are actually trying to look for cadres who can go and talk. You find a talk show of 4 panelists, only 1 NRM. So how do you tell me that the information being churned out are what? So that is consciousness. So media can only bring information that the media is not creating their own information. Media is actually churning information which is already in society. Now, if that information affects the welfare, the materiality of the person, it is what it will churn. Should it churn information that does not affect the welfare, it will be rejected. So media is just loud mouthing what is there. Media is not creating their own thing. That media is saying, open your brain, I put consciousness. Media allows what is already in the society.
That could be true, but Ugandans fear. Ugandans fear to raise their voice, because every time they raise their voice, what happens to them if they are not abducted, arrested, tortured, and to some extent some even lose their lives. And I can give maybe one of the last things to really benchmark on is the protest that happened in 2020. When Ugandans tried to talk about what was happening in society, 50 of them were murdered in cold blood. Even up to today, nobody has actually been booked or arrested for this particular issue. So, to what extent are Ugandans fearing the gunman? Because of course he came with a gun, and he can take you by the gun anytime.
You see, if Ugandans fear the gun, NRM would not have come to power, because NRM itself dared the gun, and they came by the gun.
And it had
so
guns,
you can't
yes.
say it is only NRM which is the strongest with a gun. It is only NRM which did not fear a gun. Other Ugandans don't. The biggest gun you can have, and for those of us who are NRM, we know, the biggest gun is the truth, the welfare, and the materiality of the people. Now, about you saying that people fear to raise voices, there are very many forums of rising voices. One of them is here. Who fears to come here? Here you host, I told you, you host more opposition than.
And we
now,
was
if
raised,
you are talking of going
we
on
were
the street,
raided, nine of us were arrested.
If you are talking of going to the street, if you are going to the street, Ugandans have a legal system of going to the street. Whoever has gone to the street lawfully, it would work. So only that, unless you're saying you are very strict on application of the law. But the law provides for how you can express your voice. It is lawful, it is constitutional. So Ugandans don't fear. What is holding Ugandans back is that the methods of work, the approach of NRM for issues that develop that consciousness we are talking about, is that NRM is touching the right knob. But those who want those who want to contest, those who are in the other opposite view, will always talk. And unfortunately, when they talk, they think they are the majority. But when voting comes, it proves otherwise.
Someone said,
even as we said, even when it comes to fielding candidates in the areas, I've told you, they will fail to field candidates in the entire Teso, the entire Karamoja, the entire Lango, the entire Choli, the entire West Nile. You don't find any of their candidates from LC3 downwards. And then you say, no, even LC5, apart from a few in MPs. And then you tell me that, no, people, you are so unpopular. So, media does not manufacture its own information. Media circulates information which is already in existence. And if it is information that affects the materiality of the people, people will like it. Should media superimpose idea that is abstract, it will not.
Okay. Thank you so much. That is Honorable Paula Awich from what he calls the mighty NRM. Yes, we were expecting Mr. Samuel Wegamukaku to join us. And when he does, we shall be feeling it. But before he does, let me come to you, Charles. He's trying to show you that the media reflects what and of course what everybody is going through in society. And it would be a bit downplaying when you say that we narrow it down to the media itself. To what extent do you say that it's really, NRM is actually mighty in the words that he always uses here?
You see, first of all, we are very wrong when we compare Kenya to Uganda in terms of democracy. Maybe you would attempt to compare Kenya to South Africa, but not Uganda.
Okay.
For us, we can be compared to others because but the truth is we are a military government. So you can't...
A military regime.
You can't claim that we are a democracy. You've had Major which is arguments, very militaristic. Very militaristic.
Oh, I'm talking about the needs of the people. Is that militaristic?
He doesn't see the need for free and fair competition for power.
Have I said that?
Yeah. NRM. But you see, Besigye was in NRM. Bobby Wine was associating with people in NRM. His brother was chairman of NRM in his area. Eh? When you are making arguments today on behalf of NRM, you should be also mindful that tomorrow you could be on an opposing side. So if once you're on an opposing side, what environment would you want to operate in?
If you became Kumukunde.
That is very important.
Yeah.
Zuma was in the government the other day. He's now opposing. So if you don't...
We have Tumukunde here.
If you don't
and
create
his colleagues.
A free and fair environment, yeah, then you're likely to cry foul once you defect to the opposition. When Amama Mbabazi attempted to challenge President Museveni, the same law he brought to oppress the people who are challenging government,
yes,
affected him.
Public Order Management Act.
So, are we operating in a free and fair environment when competing for power? It is automatic that that environment doesn't exist. But on paper, it does exist. In practice, it's not there. That is why I'm telling you that if you're going to assess political consciousness, you cannot, for instance, ignore freedom of assembly.
Yes, sir.
People, political actors freely engaging with the population whenever and wherever they need to. Of course, no.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yes, sir.
So, if you are not getting information from opposition actors, you are only getting information from only one side, then you are biasing the political consciousness of the population, because the population is largely consuming information from one side.
This person tells you, the population does not need to consume information from anywhere. They know the problems they are facing. Like the problems they had in 1980.
Let me tell you.
They were aware of them.
Parish development model has been imposed on the population. Did the government and other political actors engage the population to identify what exactly they wanted? and why today most of these welfare programs are not benefiting the people. It's because that freedom of engagement is not there. Most government programs are designed by a few elite
Copy and paste.
and imposed on the population. Now, there is no group that ably criticizes these programs while engaging the population. It should be a conversation between the population, the opposition, and government, then civil society groups. It should be a conversation. People should be able to point out and say, look, you NRM, what you are bringing to the people is not good for them. Then the NRM can defend those programs.
I hear you, sir.
But when it happens, they will threaten you with arrests.
Some have actually
The
been arrested.
RDCs will even pull you out of studio.
It has happened before.
Now, once that environment is what is, you cannot argue that your society is politically conscious. It is impossible. It is impossible. And me, I would encourage Major Awich, if we want to propel Uganda to another level, these are critical issues that people should be allowed to talk, to engage.
The way you are talking now.
But you see, let me tell you, how many people are listening to me today? If we went to statistics, for instance, can I go and engage people in the Gulu tomorrow without being questioned? Because the authorities will even want to know, what are you going to tell these people? So it becomes a police state. Now you cannot compare a police state to a democracy like Kenya.
Yeah.
Even though there were issues in their elections, their level of democracy is quite high, and it's not by accident. The West has a lot of interests in Kenya.
That's very true.
Those interests have to be protected. If they are to be protected, then democracy must be transparent. So that's why you see young people can go on the street. Here, if it happens and you have unchecked state power, people will be harmed. No wonder we had a similar incident during Kayunga riots and the 2021 elections. So we should be mindful of how we act as a society, as politicians, political actors, but also even the civil society. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Political consciousness is very, very, very important.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, Honorable Wich, there's something you wanted to note out.
Yes, this matter of conscience, I think I want to put it to rest.
Before you put it to rest, I only brought out the element of media.
Yeah, the media.
But there are so many groups that help in political consciousness.
Yeah.
We have religion.
Yes.
We have the cultural institutions.
Leaders.
Don't you see
Civil service
a government
organizations.
hand in all of these?
To some extent, I can see it.
Exactly.
Please submit.
I am still emphasizing that consciousness is a feeling that arises out of a human being sense organ. We have the senses of the eye, the smell, the taste, the pain. We have it. So consciousness is a reflection of a materiality.
Yes, sir.
It is not a supernaturally imposed by the religion or anybody. Therefore, for us, our method is touch the people's interest. Two is that my colleague mentions about Amama, Besige, whoever had been in the movement, and they are not there.
And they come back to crime for media.
I tried to fix the situation. I couldn't contextualize it. The nearest I could think was like intimidation. That don't talk because tomorrow you may not be there. It's mere intimidation.
It has been on record.
But the thing is, in NRM, we teach a lot of science of society. And one of the science of society is dialectics. The only thing that doesn't change is change. We are all subject to change.
Okay.
So we are alive to that. And we are not only alive that this exists in NRM, but as a society. You now see what is happening with the former leader of opposition in NUP and NUP itself.
Yes.
So should we have told the Impuga at some time that don't talk in support of NUP because you don't know tomorrow? We are alive to change. The only thing that doesn't change is change. Okay? If it is for political change, I can even take you to a whole field about the Secretary General of UPC, Ibingira. Grace Ibingira is known to have passed a law called Preventive Detention Act. It was an act which was, if they see you about to commit a crime, you are about to. You say, how do you know I'm about to? They told Ibingira, don't pass this law. This law is draconian. Ibingira passed it. And he was the first to be arrested in Parliament over the same law.
Arrest, yeah.
So, if it is about the theory of change, there is nothing hard and frozen. We are very aware about this, and therefore, the importation of this argument at this point in time is more of intimidation than a stand, a blackmail and a concrete stand.
Thank you so much.
But about the laws of change. And finally, about consciousness, I refer my friend to a writer called Maurice Conforth. Maurice Conforth writes volume 1, 2, 3, including volume 1, he writes about dialectical materialism, volume 2 is historical, and volume 3 is theory of knowledge itself. To make you know that the consciousness we have, is it brought from heaven? Or it is actually what we developed ourselves.
And it's inherent. That's what you've educated us. At just 7 minutes to the top of the hour, allow me welcome former presidential candidate and, of course, founding member of the People Power Movement, and of course, the leader of the DP bloc today, Samuel Lubega Mkakwe. Welcome, sir.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much, comrades who came early. From a barrio of one of the colleagues and associates in the DP bloc, Comrade Kakali lost a brother who was killed. They killed 2 of them. The barrios have been almost in the same place.
Sad.
Killed
very
by
unfortunate.
Who? Killed by who? By thugs?
By thugs. And today has been their burial. I thought I would make it in time, but unfortunately, I couldn't come in time.
I'm the moderator, so let me be the one to ask the questions. So my question to you is, you found us at a time when we are juxtaposing the protests that are happening in Kenya and trying to say, why is it that the same problems they are having there are the same, literally or close to what we are having here, but people have not actually tried to, demonstrate or show their grievances and try to say, government, this is enough. And there is an issue of political consciousness, saying that as a people, we are not politically cautious enough as Ugandans. That's why a lot of injustices have been done, but nothing has been done by Ugandans. And I wanted to pick your mind before we go for the break. What do you think? What is that? What's the difference that Kenya has that Uganda has not yet got or realized? Oh, it's all bliss here.
You talked about political consciousness. Yes and no. While we're struggling against the Idi Aminis, the Obote 2, Obote 1, and then the Lutwas, Kenya was not appearing to be very much bothered. Not because but their kind of political setting was a little different. After a while, when a brother sneezes, then the rest catches fire. They call a cold. and they are sneezing today. That may be one of the reasons. But of course, when you go to Kenya, they've had not so many regimes because we are about the same age.
Yeah.
If you look at our independence, we're about the same age, post-independence.
We are older.
1 year
A
older,
little
but
bit.
literally.
Just month,
Yes,
if you want to say. But they've not had many regimes like we've had. Then again, there is another phenomenon. We've had one of the longest reigning or the longest regimes. We've had many, but we've had one of the longest. They've not had such.
They had Arab Moi. It took them for 24 years.
Yeah, but,
So one
but
would say
24 does not compare to 40.
38. just for clarity, 38. Yes, sir.
No,
But
did you study mathematics? In primary
approximately.
school? Yeah, approximately 40.
Yes, sir.
You round off to the nearest. So, people, the behavior of a population, of a community, of society, under a regime that has survived for 4 decades will not be the same as that which has probably, now look at Ruto. The regime is only a few months old,
Yeah.
if not just a year old. That regime is still sensitive and responsive to the people's cries. It will always be, wherever you go, than a regime of 40 years. The regime of 40 years, one, the overstay makes it insensitive to the people's plight and therefore cries. Number 2, the people learn, because they have to survive that regime, they learn how to adopt.
Okay.
Not that everything is okay, but they learn how to adopt and how to pretend to be okay. Wherever you go, if you go to, whether you go to Egypt, to Libya, even those, there are a few which are still existing.
Yes, sir.
They learn how to adapt and pretend that they are good, they are okay. And it also depends on the level of brutality of that regime.
Okay, let's start from there. You're going to tell us the level of brutality when we come back from that short commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, the panel is already full. We're going for a short commercial break. When we come back with the second and final hour of this show. And we'll be looking at this particular issue, and then we shall be, entering the other issue of the new legislators that have been incarcerated. What does this mean to the opposition? What does this mean to Mr. Museveni, to Uganda's government, and any other remarks? Let's go for a short commercial break.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk. At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sawagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes, it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
I went and met Sister Namuju.
Mama yagenda n'alambula bwe Sister Namuju.
She's in good spirit.
Ali mu mbeera nnungi.
And she's going to be with you.
Era agenda kuvaayo, agenda kubeera nammwe mu kaseera kali kano.
That is going to be your woman MP forever. And the president has heard your cries.
Era President awuliriza okusaba kwammwe.
Where you said that when your child misbehaves, you beat and say go back and do something good.
Nga enjogera bwegamba nti omwana bw'aba akusobezza omukangavvulamu katonotono n'omugamba genda otereeze okole ebintu ebirungi.
And you're better off having a child. Even if she goes and eats something, so long as she brings back home. You open and mention the amount.
Ubudde wa taata n'omwana si bwa maama ono ubudde wa taata
Lukasisa namujjukaliwa sibawulira bw'abanga waliwo gye yakwata nga bye tuwulira bannanga abadde alya ne bannalwengo nindye setayoye.
Yeah, this is the hotline. Let me come back to you, Mr. Mukaku. You are concluding on the issue of brutality. In just 2 minutes, please conclude on the level of brutality that Uganda has faced.
Yeah, the duration, the length of the overstay of a regime will always also determine, directly correlates with the way the people respond and make their demands to the regime and the way the regime responds. Number two, I have also told you that I've also mentioned the fact that it also depends on the level of brutality of the regime. The way they crack their whip against those who challenge them, the dissenting voices, will always determine how a people at a particular time will respond.
Okay.
Of course, the level at which the regime controls the apparatus of violence. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because go to Kenya now, even the military leader or the police or the what, some of them are not those appointed by Ruto himself. And Ruto has not had the time to really make those security apparatus his own.
Yes, and a few...
And you can see the resistance that there is now.
Yes, sir.
Whenever he wants to really appoint his own people, just his people.
Correct. Even this former CDF, the one who recently passed on, may his soul rest in peace, he was actually not in support of Ruto as the president. Yes. But still Ruto appointed him as president, and one would say, could this really happen in such a dispensation? But because of time, Mr. Mukapu,
don't you, I would just remind people at the beginning, when we had those senior police officers to the level of Inspector Generals of Police, Odomel, Yiga, and all, and you remember how the president was appointing them, but he could come every other time saying he doesn't understand the police, he doesn't understand the police administration. You could really see that it was very uncomfortable with his own people that he appointed. Reason is that the capture was not yet complete, and he said we shall deal with the Kaukumi, until when in almost every other sector was militarized by people by his own whom he calls cadres, including now judicial officers, which is a shame, really. But you can see he says we want these kind of judges.
We shall talk about the judiciary in this particular next topic, because as we speak today, there are around 6 legislators who have actually been incarcerated for cases, allegations of misusing the resources. I want to come to you, Charles, and we see an incarceration, President Museveni fighting corruption, but then we see the members of Parliament, led by the Speaker, looking like they are defending, for lack of a better word, these particular alleged corruptors or thieves, for like the word Ugandans are trying to use. What do you read in the message of Among while she is in Luengo district?
I think it was...
You have watched the video there.
Yes, before I speak to the statements by those two, Chinyamatama and Among.
There was also Daudi Kamanda, just because they've not played the video.
Yes, you remember I was, I think, on this platform when I argued that President Museveni has to be very cautious when fighting corruption, especially amongst the cream, the political cream of the country. Why? It's very easy to overthrow him. These guys are showing you that stealing from vulnerable Ugandans is not a crime. In fact,
it comes off like that.
It is an indictment on their party chairman that probably is taking a wrong route. You get it?
Yeah, listen.
These people can mobilize themselves and even impeach the president if he's not very careful. So he has to be very cautious. They are telling you that Sisi, in demanding from a national budget, can you imagine?
A kickback.
Her cut, so that she can have her share.
20%.
All Ugandans have not had their share, but she wants hers. Not even the president is saying that you give me my share. But Sisa is saying, give me mine before you begin talking.
Yes.
And the speaker is saying that woman is very innocent. Please release her, let her go back to.
That's not what she said, though.
That is the implication of her statement. In fact, she's ordering the constituents of Sisi to vote her for life, never to get out of parliament. That is how rotten that institution has become. In fact, some of us were not wrong to demand from the president the speaker's head. By now, he should have started with the speaker.
But is the speaker the biggest thief?
You see,
where is there 1,000 billion
you do not have Chinyamatama
for the hospital?
If this speaker was in Ruzira, you do not have them talk. None of them would talk. But now, it's as if the president is the one who has become a problem to them. I even saw the speaker the other day saying that the summons, why is it that the summons are not going through her? This is a person who is guilty of stealing money from Ugandans. And she has the audacity to even speak the way she's speaking. Let me tell you.
But there is a sentiment that this guillotine is going for just a few people.
Are inciting
the small
Ugandans.
Ones.
Ugandans will lynch them. If the president does not act.
No, you're just scaring people now, sir.
Let me tell you, Ugandans
because
are very
one is asking, the person Pineti who took 1,000 billions. Nobody has talked about Pineti. Nobody has talked about Lubao Hospital. We are all looking at the money that has been taken, the 500 million of
because
Mpunga.
These are the people giving out that money. It is Parliament giving out that money. So the president is trying to deal with the source of the problem. And the speaker and the company are saying no. For us, we are innocent.
Okay, as you conclude, sir, let me come to you, Mr. Mukaku, because I want him to summarize on your particular submissions. What do you read in the message of Honorable Anita Among and the legislators there? Looking like it's business as usual, really. You can vote back Sisi again. She will be a member of parliament again. Is this a serious fight?
Why do you want him to summarize ours?
No, not summarizing.
Because now you'll be still.
No, because at the end of the day,
the same game.
It's not really
continuing the same game.
It's not the same game, but it gives him a better
They are
leverage.
in government. They are the ones that we are critiquing. They are the ones
exactly.
that should
so I want him
clean.
to receive all your criticism.
They are the ones that should come clean of this vice. Yeah. The public would want to hear what he says about this.
That's why I want you to talk so that I can.
What he says about this. Then we come in. The public would want to hear what he says about this. Then we come in. We represent the other public that is not into this.
Okay,
but if you want,
but this time round,
but
please,
if you want,
do the honor.
we can still continue the game with the such vices. See, they are even beyond vices. They are criminal acts in this country.
Yes, sir.
As I told you, the biggest cancer that we have, that we never suffered even during colonial days, is capture.
Okay.
Capture. State capture and institutional capture. Because with the capture,
yes, sir,
you are able to play these games. If we didn't have capture, nobody would. Because you do this, you have checks and balances correcting government every other time.
Yes, sir.
But with the capture, you can get away with this. That's why the other day when Madam Betty Kamya now comes, you know, this is what I'm going to do. Then all of a sudden, somebody else also comes in. Yes, I appreciate what you're doing, but be careful. You know, these people
don't go to the military.
You know, these people might take the money away.
Yes.
So giving a carte blanche. Yeah, effectively. So Kamya now becomes detoothed. And every other institution has been detoothed in the same way. And then the president has been in a campaign giving out T-shirts to 20,000 for people to go to Korolo. He even walks demonstrating how now he's energized to fight corruption. But all of a sudden, one statement kills it all. Okay? How many times has Anita Mwangi spoken against corruption and against people who behave like that? Now today she even says the president has sent you a message.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whose game? Whose game? You are as helpless as a witch, comrade a witch is, to fight back. Because the big boys in the house are speaking a different language. And they are speaking a different language. We are as helpless because we don't have the leverage to bring them to book.
But they are bringing them to book.
No, you can't bring them to book.
Okay.
You can't bring the big boys to book.
I thought these are the big boys and
Which
girls.
big boys?
Big boys or big guys?
Because that brings me to the question of saying big fish.
The problem you people,
are these small fish?
And this is what I heard about today's fourth estate. And not just the fourth estate, but the most important estates that are supposed to collect this. Even yourself, now you're playing the game. How do you call Namuju the big boy? You know, the other day on Umavati you said Nandutu was a big girl. Nandutu, a big girl. We know those who came even making statements that made them guilty. You not even need to take them to court.
Do you want to mention
the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, the Vice President. Getting Nandutu, much as she's also, it then looks as being victimizing Nandutu. People will know the justice. You see, in my language, and it is now common, usual political language. There's what we call my party, Amazimanachi, no Gwenkanya. Everyone knows this.
Truth and justice.
It has lived for a while, whether you go to Acholi or elsewhere. Everyone knows Amazimanachi,
no Gwenkanya.
Truth and justice. The truth is said, but the justice. Many times people go to court and they say, we competed, myself, Awishi, and him. Then I'm declared after rigging and stealing elections or doctoring results, or probably not even qualifying to be elected. Maybe I don't have qualifications. Maybe I even didn't resign my job. They go to court. The courts of law pronounce themselves and say, Mukaku did not even resign his job. Mukaku did this. Mukaku bribed. Mukaku rigged. Then they say, therefore we annul the elections. But then they order for a re-election where Mukaku is also
part.
Is that fair? Is that justice? It's the same thing here.
So what is
the same thing? Okay. When you, doing? The fourth estate, we.
What is Mr. Museveni doing?
The senior members of the political class start to play around like that. Now you say, this woman, she's not a big fish. Namuju is not. When it came to Mabati, I've told you, the Mbuzi, the goat saga.
Yeah, the goats are not mentioned anywhere.
Not even mentioned, not even, but it happened at the same time.
When you see the speaker speak like that, in defense of Namuju, what comes to my attention is that it appears Namuju was representing the speaker in that corruption.
That's what you.
Yeah, but is it just the speaker? Because the speaker is also saying, "I bring you greetings.
Mr.
I bring you greetings from somebody."
Why are you trying to downplay the efforts of Mr. Museveni?
I'm not downplaying.
Why is it that everything that comes off that he's
like
doing?
That?
But he's trying to
and we've seen it for a while. So you are not going to teach me anything new. I've seen it for a while. This was the same thing. The way we react as the public. We've had scandal after scandal.
Yes, sir.
We know how, right from whether you talk about the helicopter junk, the junk helicopter scandals, or the uniforms in the military, yes, or the salary that was given to Byakusaga to take to the military. We know how it all fizzled out. Coming to the global, you know this man, Nduga, the singer.
Yes.
Says, I'm not the worst. At least since there's a global fund.
Yeah, but
you see, people, even these musicians, will come to kind of demonstrate to you that they are corruption scandals that are beyond.
Okay, my question
now the
to
Pinette one, the Pinette one, when everyone was rising up, I'm the one who
I'm behind Pinette.
Yeah. Now,
what should he do, Mr. Mukako? What should he do? That
when you come for
Awichi,
when you come for Afande Awichi, because he has taken 24 million, because he has taken 50 millions, in the eyes of the public, it becomes a joke. It becomes a joke. Because the other day, you have somebody who has taken $360 million. Do you know what that one is?
That's a lot of money, sir. Okay, let me come to Honorable Witch. Honorable Witch, these people seem to have no hope.
No. And let me add on this. Not long ago, everyone thought, okay, our president was going to go full throttle. You know the exhibition, parliamentary exhibition thing?
It's what he's doing now.
I met this UK minister. These are the questions. Instead of going full throttle on where the cause is, he actually makes the speaker get away with it. First of all, he said, if it is about the speaker having foreign accounts, because somebody can open up a foreign account to pay fees for her children.
Which is true.
Then the only thing I'm worried about is, did she actually construct houses or buy houses outside? Because here, they are houses. So already you had watered down the whole thing.
Let me listen to Honorable Witch. Honorable Witch, please submit.
Well, in this particular incident of what the speaker and Honorable Kinyamatama said, I think these guys have had a field day today. They have roared, and I think they have rightly roared. What do I do? But I think the point here is, the president is clear about fighting corruption. He actually says, don't get on my way of the bullet, because if you get, I'll shoot you. Meaning whoever is found in the corruption scandal will suffer the consequences. As he puts it, one sentence kills it out. The speaker says that she brings greetings from the president. She even pulls the money and says the money is from the father, the son. The interpretation of the Ugandan speech.
And who was the Holy Spirit now in this case?
The interpretation, I think it is from two people. I think from the speaker, she mentioned the Holy Spirit. But from the translator,
the
translator talks of 2. So either way, you could choose to take from our mouth or take from the mouth of the translator. But the point here is, I yet want to confirm if indeed she has a message from the president. Which message is sympathetic to the accused or to the suspect? To the accused, actually, because they're already accused in court, no longer suspect. They have graduated from suspect to accused. Again, she says the money is from the president. I don't know is it true it is from the president, and for what? Your cries that we really need to come much more clear is well taken. Maybe for one of the few occasions, I take your cries. In many cases, I've not been taking. Because now, this has a wide implication. Even in the simplest term, if you, the speaker, imports the name of the president in support of the accused, what do you expect the judicial officer to do? He's going to be brought to court. Will the judicial officer be independent anymore? Where the accused is in quotes and quotes as almost a lawyer or a defense counsel in the name of the president, as implied by the speaker. Secondly, will the speaker and her team go to all the constituencies of the other 2 accused with the same message? What is this message? That these accused should be MPs forever? And also the message that when you steal and do something, you punish and say do something good? And also in Honorable Kinyamatama's views to say, as long as you steal, you share with the constituents, there's no problem. So will this team go to the constituents of Butembuli? The other one is?
And the one Butembuli.
There are 2. The other one is Saka or Kako, something. So will they go to the same constituency with the same message?
And the Mawanda as well.
And then Mawanda, if it is the
they
same
go
thing.
there, they should be lynched.
No, no, what I'm saying, is this the consistency they want? Is this the consistency they want, that once a suspect is arrested, you go with a message from the president exonerating the accused, and you even take more money from the president? Is this, could there be that the money actually is not from the president and the message never came from the president?
Exactly.
Can the speaker come out clear if indeed the president sent her? Because I'm concerned, because the president is my party chairman, and I have known Museveni, especially in NRA circle, that is a very committed man to his, even Museveni's adversaries who have been with Museveni in NRA knows that he doesn't talk for the sake. And I have known that son of Kaguta talks what he means and means what he talks. So could he have said that you're going, if don't get onto my bullet, and then sends this? So I think the speaker deserves to come much more clearer. Otherwise, it's not good for the party.
How about
it's not good for the party.
Comment on the speaker herself and members of parliament coming out to actually condone or look as if they are defending the corruption. What do you think of the act itself?
No.
Let him ask his
that is
question.
not true.
No, let
they are
him
not
ask.
supporting. They are part of it.
That
I want to hear
is
your
submission.
question. I want to hear your question.
And that is my question, sir. What do you think about a speaker standing in front and of course here talking about the accused and looking like they are defending them or condoning their act or trying to just cover it up and say, as long as he's eating with you, if he has taken something? What does that act speak of the person of the speaker and the legislators that are leading these Ugandans?
Of course, I had, in my first segment, I had been trying to see the impact on the party chairman since he was imported. But now if you ask me about what it speaks about the speaker, your guess is as good as my guess. In that a Speaker of Parliament should first of all know the rudimentary, the rule of sub judice. That a matter in court, in her capacities, shouldn't have talked about. More so that the accused is a member of Parliament under her, and knowing her position. And of course, one would read, this is my view, and I said my view is as good as your view, is that, see, like he puts it, could it be that she knew the act? Could it be that these were mere ambassadors in the code of the act itself? Because why come at a time when the matter is still hot, openly and with brutality, on a lot of force on it? So my view about the Speaker coming about this is everybody else guess. I do not know whether some people would impute our views to say, okay, no, she wants justice, she's a mother, she's defending this one as a mother because once a child wrongs, you. First of all, if it was about defense, it's not coming from our mouth. Even the element of sympathy, she says it is coming from somewhere else, from the chairman, from my party chairman, which I think the party chairman, something should be made clear that really we are not part of this. Or if we are part of it, then it should be explained so that some of us can contextualize it, and if we agree with it, we come and explain to the people.
Okay.
But if we don't, so your question about how one interprets the Speaker by this conduct is really not good. And he has put it more clear. It's really not good. Maybe as I leave, my colleague in the other segment, he had said about the consciousness or response to a government in power as opposed to what Kenya said. I just wanted to say that he said in the general rule. In other words, what he said was whether it was a government in Ghana or it was a government in Namibia or it was a government where, like longevity, like brutality, like all that, he merely said the general rule. Whether the government was in Czechoslovakia or in what. But the thing is, I wanted to say, if it was localized it in Uganda, it should have been, because it appeared to be objective in its analysis and material rather than idealistic. I thought it would have also said it also depends on how the regime in power pays attention to the needs of the people. When you get the regime in power which pays attention to the needs of the people wouldn't rise as it does in other countries. So other than him making those general
the
rules,
ideas
tailor it.
should have tailored it. That because that is one exception in Uganda.
Lastly,
the glass half empty.
So let me just conclude on this issue. He still hinted on this, Mr. Mukaku. The net that is getting these corrupt individuals is subjective in nature. Like there are some people who are above being arrested and got, yet they are corrupt. But there are others that are easy to get. He pointed out the issue of the Mavati. I don't know how many people stole these Aryan sheets, but 3 were the ones who were put on a test. And he's saying it's subjective in nature. Why is it that your law is subjective in nature?
I don't think so, because if you look at the 3, they nearly meet the ingredients of the crime.
We call it selective prosecution.
The 3, remember the Minister of State for Finance roofed his cow thing with the iron sheets. And the other 2 ministers, they were the line ministers actually giving out sheets. Then in the case of the minister herself, she was actually the first to, the evidence came out from her because her mother was found selling it in Umbali. Intelligence tricked her and went to
Even the brother.
Yes, even the brother. So you can see really that these were concrete evidence. But even then, it is still work in progress. Because for you as an arresting officer and a prosecutor, you just don't want to go to court and your case is thrown out. You need concrete facts that meet the ingredients of the offense. The accused was got with the thing and he had actually sold, you have the evidence. If you came to, for example, okay, Honorable Kadaga, Right Honorable Kadaga, who said, they gave me this, and actually go and check in that church or in that school. So it becomes a borderline.
How about the Minister of Finance?
Minister of Finance.
He doesn't know how they appeared in his house.
You see, with the Minister of Finance is very easy. Being a Minister of Finance, these ministers could have wanted to sweeten him, and indeed they carry. I know of a former court clerk in my village, in Utuke, who would, even without his knowledge, would, these doves, they are like doves, the birds in the village. Those people are poor and they would not have anything to bribe. So they would capture so many, smoke it, this man would get it at home. And he himself would ask, who brought this? And then somebody will tell you, after 2 days, sir, I brought it at your home. So it is possible.
I wish it was the same. The good thing, the one speaking is has been a judicial officer for some time. I wish the same maybes, you never knows, would apply to Nandi.
That is why the prosecution, you see, that is why the prosecution wouldn't want to drag him, because they would lack evidence.
Okay.
Yes.
Allow me come back to
But say that there is no selective prosecution, and the president has said, don't get on my way of my bullet. Meaning that whoever gets on his way of the bullets, he will deal with him.
Okay.
So all that matters is for the prosecution to get evidence.
Okay. The question of evidence, I don't know, Charles, if you think there is no evidence to incriminate some of the big fish that he's talking about, but also highlight on the issue of the judiciary now. If a speaker can come out to make such statements, undermining cases that are going on in court, where does this leave the judiciary? Does it actually even have the power to convict these individuals? Which dilemma do you think the Chief Justice and his judiciary are in right now?
First of all, I would like to comment on the Iron Sheet scandal. I've been very consistent. The two ministers,
yes, sir,
in charge of the Karamoja portfolio, those are the architects of that loot, and therefore they should carry the burden. You cannot collapse an entire government because some people were given iron sheets, unaware that they had been stolen.
Yes.
Might be what we could have demanded, and which I have always demanded, is that the Prime Minister should have stepped aside. Because
people don't step aside.
It is impossible that you can claim to be a Prime Minister and you not have seen what transpired in your office.
Okay.
I'm sure that she has all the resources that are needed. So she must have come across that road, and maybe she did not give it due attention. So because of that incompetence, she should have stepped aside. I've also insisted that this speaker should have been put in the coolers. In fact, if they don't put her in prison, let me tell you, she might overthrow government because of the things, her conduct itself. She can overthrow.
But it feels like you're more worried than Museveni, the person himself.
You see, when Uganda becomes unstable, I told you, I have no plans of going into exile. When Uganda, we shall slaughter ourselves. And it is these characters that are going to cause that. You cannot tell me that for such a sensitive issue, you go in public and you begin talking the way she was talking. This country is at a point of collapse. Tensions, every day we try to cool down tensions. But you imagine how she's inciting the people. I don't know why the president takes long to handle such a person. You'd rather forgive these other members of parliament. But for her, you just throw her inside.
Please comment on how it affects the judiciary, how these statements are affecting the judiciary.
I want to believe that the judiciary has very competent people who might not want to listen to such a nonsense. They are going to handle issues, the cases that are before them, objectively. Because the president came out the other day and he said, well, if we are going to deal with corruption, let's deal with it. I've not heard him make statements that are contrary to what he told us.
So that means you believe President Museveni is serious in fighting corruption?
Yes. You see, let me tell you that there are MPs who are on the list that had he not been serious, you wouldn't really see them on the lineup. But some of them are already inside, and I want to believe that the president is very serious. These characters are not serious. They speak under a company. Now, it is up to the Ugandans to mount pressure on all these people to get out of leadership. But it is also not enough. We should recover as a country what we've lost.
Yeah, because that's the thing. If you misappropriate 164 billion,
we should also recover what has been lost from them. If it means selling off their assets, let them be sold off.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let me come to you, Mr. Mukaku. He mentions an issue that maybe there is no evidence to some of the big fish that you are trying to talk about. But also, I'm going to ask you the same question. Where does this leave the judiciary?
First of all, the maybes, to me, they don't work. We are all responsible citizens. If we are leaders, members of the higher echelons of political class, whether in opposition or in government, we should all, whatever we say, we should say it responsibly, with the responsibility. I was very happy with the statement he made regarding what the speaker said and his responses. I cannot come full throttle to him.
Yeah.
The only thing I pick is the other maybe. The other maybe when he goes.
And you say that maybe comes when it comes to...
because maybe can be to anybody. You see, the other day, if you are just suspected, these people should be thrown to jail and nobody should come for... The president even talked about, has very often been talking about not giving people bail.
Yes, he mentioned it.
Because some of these crimes are very, they affect society in a great way. I don't know why, when it comes to this, for me, simply suspected of inciting, I have to pay 30 millions, according to the president and the DPP and the system. I have to pay 30 million for bail, and even that again incenses the president. Why, or not just the president, but every other actor within the system? Why were they released on bail? But this one is not that serious. It has got to be given a maybes, and you know it can collapse government, as though government can only be held by those 120 people, whatever. They normally say the NRM is a big thing.
It is. It is
Yeah,
a mass
it's a big
party.
thing. There is one here.
It is a mass party.
If there is a missing judicial officer or a missing, say, chief justice or a missing minister, he's capable. Yeah? Don't you tell me that when Muhoozi and the rest, Muhoozi and the rest in the Global Fund, they are the only ones that we must recycle?
And Mike Mukula.
That we must recycle, having committed that? The public is watching, but it's helpless. It can't do much.
What do you want? What do you want people
when
to
we
do?
talk about selective prosecution, just we gave the Karamajong gods. We gave the Karamajong iron sheets.
And there are people who are
Why are you
being charged.
telling me that the iron sheets were louder than the gods? Why is it that those who were involved in the goat scandal were not prosecuted? Okay, why didn't we see some Nandutus at least in the goat scandal? You see, we as the public, we as the actors, sometimes we look at these things and we know it's going to happen the way it happened yesterday and the other day and the other day and the other day. And that also...
Omokaku, you want a system that has been designed in a certain way to just come and fit here. Don't you think that to some extent, some ideals could not work in such a dispensation?
What is ideal?
Overwhelming, arresting everybody. Because,
overwhelming.
okay, let's say if you were to arrest all the ministers and members of parliament who were involved in that scandal, wouldn't you be arresting the whole cabinet?
Saying, why do you go for the small fish and leave the big fish? All the time.
Or it's you perceiving that it's the small fish.
When we were talking about these men who
because
Kakinda, were they Kakindas who were taken in?
Kazinda. Yeah, Kazinda.
All the time. The small fish. And you leave the big fish. And then the big fish see the other light. They are recycled. They are praised. What this woman is talking about is not new. I've told you just one statement. It has been repeated over and over. I've also told you the recycling. When she comes, when Chinyamantama and this woman come, only that for them they're doing it in a so short a time. Maybe the others, they take some time to recycle. But it's the same thing.
How does the country move forward, Mr. Mukaku, now? What do we do? Because there's a semblance of corruption.
I was happy recently with the president. I normally give credit where it is. I was happy recently. He has made about 3 statements which have made my day. Just my day.
Do you want to share?
One of the statements when he was at Kororo, speaking to the writing, the leaders of the traders, and said, look, you people, my journey is now short.
Yeah.
My days are numbered. This is your country. That was a statement, almost saying it like a putting it on table like a statesman. It made my day. The other statement he made in the State of the Nation address or one of those budgets or whatever, he said corruption. We were talking about corruption. Said, you know, now I realize, I've just realized, understand, even people who are brought to me,
yes,
those who request to come to see me,
have to pay.
They are those who, the brokers, and they have to pay. And first of all, you must promise. When we go to see the president, I'll give you this, or when the president has to give anything, you take this percentage. The president said it. So, oh, now the president has started, because he's the main consumer of intelligence.
Is that corruption?
Yeah.
Because that has been a controversial debate. Maybe I look at that from the perspective of lobbyism. We should actually debate whether lobbyism
when you go
corruption.
When you go to other countries, that's not how we lobby. Now,
the third
statement, he said, look, there are those actors within ministries, permanent secretaries, whatever, those even ministers, when they want a cut, on their certain projects, they come to Parliament. Say, please, if you put this one, we shall pay you this. Make sure that you pass the budget, including this. The the president saying this, I think, I gave him full plots. But one thing, I can now see a president who knows everything about corruption in this country.
So he's now open to the reality on
But the system he has built around himself and he himself can now not allow him be the effective fighter of corruption.
Can that system make him...
The best thing he can do,
yes,
leave the Kazovas, the Mukakus and the rest, give them space if it means writing amnesty where he himself is also involved, or probably it might come back to haunt him. We write an amnesty, whatever, for him and a few others if he wants, for the sake of this country. Then somebody who has the teeth to do it comes and does it, but with huge information from the president himself.
In a minute.
That can allow this country to move forward.
In a minute, can it take Mr. Museveni, that corruption, because he hinted that this corruption can actually take Mr. Museveni, and maybe you can also hint on the fact, the ones that we are giving power really clean? Can we trust
let's just take one example. Either you take this one where Mong is you remember, where parliamentary exhibition. If you do parliamentary exhibition, you must do the executive arm exhibition. You must also do the judicial arm exhibition. So you must do all institutions exhibition. And who will remain? Two, if you left, for example, the what the other people said, like he has been saying, we must punish, we must take this woman to what? To jail. Then you are also going to take many members of the executive to jail.
Okay.
The other one, just the other one. The Mavati and the goat scandal. Should you act fairly and truthfully, then you might find senior members of the executive also put in.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying this thing will not. The president, whatever he says, whether he brings new other support institutions like the Nakalema he brought, whatever, it is not going to help because it all stops.
And starts with him. Okay. Let me read just a message. Thank you, Namuguzi Ntalelud, for watching. Nachi Narita, you're watching. You say thanks for the show. I think we need to applaud Anita Among for telling the truth. In my view, because Anita knows that these cases won't see any light. That's why she has to be open about Honorable Namuju. She continues to say, I think if there are those nasty political accidents of our times like Anita Among, Power, and Bobby Wine, these three are really political accidents that have created lots of victims than road accidents. I don't know how Chagulanyi has come into this particular discussion.
Is our view. Is she a lady?
Yeah, she's a
lady. She sees them in the same league.
I think.
No, you don't know how? You don't know how?
That's going to be a topic for next time.
Can I demonstrate it for you?
Let me give him his time.
You are the one who brought it. Briefly. Number one. The other day, we were talking about the 500. The other day. And when you look at the letter they wrote to Mpuga that he broke the leadership code. How many times has Chagulanyi broken the leadership code? If you look at the mansions that they have, all the top executives of NUP, the mansions they have, just a few months ago, about not even 30 to 36 months, they wrote down something on paper, which is with the IGG and with everyone. Did they indicate those mansions that they have them?
But Chagulanyi has always been a wealthy man. But we'll talk about that. I will bring you Mr. Mukaku here.
Anyway, that is our view. That is our view.
Senyon yesterday was like you. Right Honorable Yoweri Bishekezi Senyon was like you, probably you were much better. Today he has mansions of billions of
mansions is an exaggeration.
Of billions of
but you have to bring us evidence. Mr. Mukaku, bring us evidence.
That lady has put up
conclude for us and just give us a summation of where we move as a country really. What's the vision behind this fighting corruption? And do you think it's something that we are going to achieve as a people in just like 3 minutes so that we can
Now, the vision I want to pick from what he says. He says that since President Museveni has the willingness to fight corruption, but the system around him cannot allow him, then he should step aside and let others come. To him, that is the way forward.
Yes,
I totally disagree with that. Because I am saying, like in a family, there exist contradictions. This contradiction of corruption exists in the government, and I can as well, because the government is formed by NRM party, by vicarious liability, it exists in NRM party. We can't run away from it. Because it is our government, we formed it as a party. If we are not satisfied with any actor there, the party should remove the person, which we are not. So what I'm saying is, contradiction exists, even with your wife and children. But this is not a major contradiction that should warrant a removal or a standing aside of the president. The constitutional provision gives us 5 years. If we fail to resolve this contradiction, the way out is in 2026, people will vote. But we believe that we shall resolve these contradictions so that by 2026, the people will vote us. Your method of standing aside is unconstitutional, it is ad hoc, and it's not good for the country. So, contradictions is identified, and it will be resolved. If we don't resolve it, for us as a party, we shall pay the consequence. But in our revolutionary methods of work, problem identified is problem a half. There is a contradiction in the corruption. President Museveni has said, don't cross his way of his bullet. Maybe some of these people who are moving are crossing his way. So that contradiction will be removed. So I totally disagree with your method of standing aside. So Ugandans should know contradiction arise even in family. We shall resolve it. 2026, we shall have Article 1, power belongs to the people.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. It's exactly 9 p.m. This gentleman is called Honorable Major Paula Awich. He's from the National Resistance Movement. He's the director. All of you have not said goodbye. And he has also not said goodbye. No, he was giving his submission. But this gentleman is Honorable Paula Awich. This one is Charles Kazoba. He's the Executive Director of the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. And on my far right is Honorable Samuel Lubega Mkaku. He is a presidential aspirant, leader of the DP bloc, and also a founding member of the People Power Movement. I'm going to bring him back to just talk about that issue with facts and evidence, sir. Because many people think that you have a problem with the National Unity Platform now. But we want you to bring the evidence of the things you talk about, and we shall debate right here on Digitalk TV. My name is Edgar Matthew Karohanga. Good evening, Uganda. See you next Monday.
Also bring, help us as a journalist, bring that form where these public officers signed what property they have and they don't have.
God bless
you. When you bring
Uganda.
it, then we shall have a good debate.
Thank you so much, sir.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.